Hello, today I'm coming to you again from Culver City, a really amazing, cool, very old part of Hollywood where there's a lot of movie history and a lot of paranormal history, and a place where they both combined quite a lot. Really right behind me, one of the great original silent era stars, Clara Bow. She lived in a house just in this direction. The mountainside right here is the hills that you see in Gone with the Wind. Just off to my right now is the Culver Hotel. Of course, the Culver Hotel was once owned by Charlie Chaplin, later owned by John Wayne. He won that in a poker game. Right by that is Culver Studios. Classic place. We did a video on it earlier. We talked about The Wizard of Oz being filmed there, and of course the sound stage where allegedly a munchkin hanged himself. And of course Culver Studios is haunted by Thomas Ince, the founder of Culver Studios and a guy that was allegedly killed by William Randolph Hearst. To see more details about that, check out this video here. In the neighborhood just below me here is roughly where the house was that inspired the movie The Entity, which is a really terrifying poltergeist story. Barry Taff investigated it. Of course, it went on to inspire the movie The Entity that came out in the early 80s. But I figured what better a place to do this video, a place that is got a great haunted history and a great cinematic history to talk about ghosts captured on camera, or really paranormal photos. A while ago I did get some submissions from you guys of possible ghosts caught on camera, and I wanted to go through a couple of those right now. This topic always has to start with orbs, because everybody loves getting orb photos. They're very easy to get, and very easy to get incorrectly. The reason they linger is because there is some potential truth to an orb being a paranormal phenomenon. You have a lot of false positives with orbs. You have dust, even smoke will cause orbs, any kind of debris, even high humidity days. This is a picture of a very high humidity day. It looks like we're surrounded by orbs, but this was just a snowstorm at Lake Forest College. Sunspots can cause these false positives as well. Those are usually pretty easy to suss out because they have a helix shape that relates to the iris of the camera, kind of reflecting through in a strange refraction. So if you ever see an orb that looks like that, you can rule that out immediately. Here's one that I took at a restaurant that I don't even know what it's called anymore. It's changed its name so often. I think it's the Irish Legend, but it has gone through a number of incarnations. This is on the south side of Chicago. I believe this is a haunted site. I've never had any paranormal experience myself there, but this place has such an amazing history that I would not at all be surprised. And I have heard a lot of really compelling first-hand accounts of hauntings at this location, so I do believe it's haunted. Why this particular orb photo stands out to me as maybe being something credible is the location of it. Due to the angle of the camera where I was shooting, where the orb appears, I don't think that there's any bizarre reflection that took place. We're also way up off the ground, so it's not dust from the road that got kicked up, unlikely at least. And I can definitely vouch that it was a clear, dry day. However, when it all comes down to it, I cannot say for sure that this is a paranormal orb that we captured here. Why? Because for me to believe an orb photo is actually something significant, I really want it to be backed up by some other evidence. Either personal experience or some other device going off. An EMF detector alarms and someone snaps a picture and voila, you have an orb appear. One kind of validates the other. I didn't have that in this situation, but this is still one that definitely caught my eye. Really my favorite example, and if you've taken the tour with me or if you've come to a speech that I've given, I always talk about this photo right here. This was on my second time ever going to Bachelors Grove Cemetery, one of the most haunted places in America, really. And I went with a group of people and just made them lab rats, essentially. I just said, fan out, walk around. I didn't really tell them any stories about the location. I wanted their experiences to be authentic if they had any. And these two people walked over to one corner of the cemetery, just exploring, and they thought they felt a cold spot. They didn't want to rush to judgment, so they thought, well, we should go back, tell Scott about this, and maybe he can come over and check it out for himself. Now, by the luckiest coincidence, I had a photographer with me and he snapped a picture of them. He didn't have any idea that they may have been experiencing something, but their personal experience of maybe feeling a cold spot was validated because this photo showed this strange misty orb floating behind them. 99 times out of 100, an orb photo is just some sort of dust, some sort of debris, but they do actually happen. So you can't throw them all out. You have to actually look at them with a cautious, skeptical eye. This photo right here was taken at a haunted house in Grays Lake, Illinois, one that I actually did write about in the book Voices from the Chicago Grave. Her face is blurred by me, so that's nothing paranormal, but in the background, what was reported was maybe a little bit of an orb, but then definitely a face in the shadows. At first glance, you could understand why somebody would see this and think this. However, if you increase the lightness of the photo enough, you can see that there's a lot of different objects and junk in that back room that doesn't have much light going into it, and the flash from the camera, or maybe just some dull light coming from the doorway, was enough to illuminate an object partially, and our eyes trying to find patterns made us think that we see a face. We are constantly looking for familiar patterns and shapes. And what's more familiar and recognizable than a human face? Our mind does jump to that conclusion quite frequently, that wow, there's a floating face in that doorway. This was not submitted to me, but this is one of the more famous paranormal photos that's floating around the internet now, really for the last 2 years. The Cooper hanging man photo. As the story goes, this photo was taken, nothing was there until the photo was developed, and upon development we see this pretty ghastly image of a man falling or hanging from the ceiling. I and a number of other people have dug around trying to find the origins of this photo, get more to the story, because if this amazing photo really has been around since the 1950s, why haven't we seen it till now? Wow. It is awesome that Wizard of Oz was shot right over there, and I'm about to be swept up in LA's first big tornado. We did have one not long ago. I don't know if you guys saw that. Awesome video. There's quite a lot of people that believe this is a hoax photo. The majority of the attention on this photo has been taken from the skeptic side, which is again completely understandable. But some of the more common things that skeptics have said about why this is not a true paranormal photo don't really stand up to me. I haven't been able to discount the photo altogether based on their claims. For one, people have been saying that the vignetting is too symmetrical, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's the little darkness around the edges. It's why most Instagram filters have that, because that is how cameras looked very frequently back in the 1950s and 60s. And especially if this was taken with a flash, it will be focused towards the center of the picture and it will fall off dramatically by the edges. Plus, the lens probably itself couldn't quite capture in that much light coming from those sides. A point that actually does make sense until you really dig into it is the shadow of the falling man that is cast on the back wall. People have pointed out that why does a woman in the middle not have a shadow? Well, because she's in the middle and the flash is getting her directly. That flash from the camera is meant for her. So it makes sense that there would not be a shadow on her. And you can see that the woman on the far right, there is a little bit of a shadow, and then the hanging man, his shadow is there, but it's coming in the wrong direction. It's as if the light source is from the other side. Now, for one, we don't know if there's a window or some other light source, so we can't fully throw that away in general. But two, if this was an overlay put in after the fact of this falling man, and they did some effects to him and they made him blurry and all that, and then they went in and they put this shadow behind it, they did a really amazingly great job. I can speak as a graphic designer on this. So if they were going to go through and expertly create this false shadow, why would they make such a dumb mistake to put it on the wrong side of him? That part just doesn't make sense to me, because so much thought would have had to go into creating that shadow that why would you mess up the placement of it? And that's definitely not proof, but it does tell me that the fact that he's got a shadow and it's coming from that direction, that doesn't make it not paranormal. This last photo I'm going to show you, I'm telling you, if it wasn't shown to me by the person that took it, and she showed it to me on her phone, which is what the picture was taken with, the file had never left her phone at that point, there was no chance for it to be digitally manipulated or anything like that. If it wasn't shown to me directly from the source, I would easily not believe that this is a real photo. This photo was taken in a hotel in Hawaii when she and her family were on vacation. Everybody else was outside, ready to go. She was dawdling, taking her time, getting ready to go out. She took one last selfie to make sure she looked great. Then something caught her eye off her shoulder in the distance. When she zoomed in and lightened the photo a little bit, she saw this unmistakable face of a person watching her get ready. This is a staggering photo. This is an amazing photo. I'm going to leave most of the story untold so far because I actually want her to be on camera with me and actually talk about this photo. But it is such an amazing photo. There's nothing better to finish this video off with. But this is another call. Please do send me your photos. If you do have orb photos, I'll still look at them and I'll let you know if I think there's any validity to them or if there's some obvious reason to throw them out. Sometimes it's just peace of mind. Okay, my place isn't haunted. That's just some dust. I should dust more often. Whatever the case, definitely reach out to me. Send me your photos, and if you have other suggestions on places I need to go visit, stories of your own that you want to tell, please send me videos, send me your comments, and I'll address them as soon as I can get to them. As always, I want to know, what's your ghost story?